Jew. Yep. We can kill it. Do you see the point? And anybody who argues for moral transformation in a society when the laws are one way, that person becomes the immoral person because society has already determined that you can enslave black people. Get it? So, we're back, and we're going to continue on with some more clips from these debates. We have Bonson coming up soon, and I think even a clip from Dr. White, just epic moments in a Christian atheist debate. But what's up, Anthony? You got something you want to say?
Yeah, listen to all these debates and things that you teach us in the apologetics course. You're always, pointing out the gimmies that they want. And that's starting to get annoying when I'm listening to these now because I'm able to catch it. And it was just like, when I was waiting at Circle K this morning, before we came into the studio, is that I'm just knowing everybody wants a gimme. Everybody wants a gimme. I'm going inside to pay for gas and get a soda, and some dude catches me. He's like, hey, man, you got any change? And I was like, well, I'm going to get something to drink. If I come back out and you pick up some trash around here, I'll give you a couple bucks. And he got mad. He's like, why are you trying to put me down, man? You trying to oppress me? I'm like, put you down to oppress you? I gave you a job.
Yeah.
Now you're fired.
Nice.
Yeah, he didn't think that was funny.
You didn't like that one?
No.
No, you got to be careful, man. You're near South Phoenix playing like that.
I grew up in West Phoenix.
He fits in, though.
I do fit in.
Yes, moving on. All right, so here we go. Let's continue on. This is more from the discussion of morality between Barker, Wilson, in the should God and government or keep being religion strictly separate, something like that. Okay, here we go.
Well, if they decide in ways that result in the maximization of harm in the world, then those of us who are mentally healthy will say that was wrong, and we'll protect ourselves from nutcases like that. We'll try to put them in jail.
Why are they a nutcase? Why are they a nutcase? And what gives you the right to determine that this is a nutcase at all? Your cosmic broccoli. Yeah. That is a phrase, people that know it, that Dan Barker used. Cosmic broccoli. That's all we are. And he's right, by the way. If evolution is true, naturalistic materialism, if we came here by evolutionary process that did not have us in mind, from nothing to simpler biological organisms to more complex biological organisms, then really, in reality, we're cosmic broccoli. Broccoli grew up through these evolutionary processes, and so did we.
That will never be his best life now if he continues the way of that thinking process.
I just don't know about that, Dan Barker.
I don't know.
I just don't know.
That's what laws are for.
You're assuming what you need to prove. Why are you the mentally healthy one?
Because we define, by definition, people who act in ways that are more peaceable and less violent, that allow for more of a freedom of survival of our organisms. By definition, we call that good because it's positive to the organism. Good. You don't have to decide it. I don't have to decree it. I mean, you and I both know that as human beings, there are certain things that harm us, and we don't decree that they should harm us. We just know.
You draw the circle at the human race. Why is it inherently immoral for someone else to have an ethical system that draws the circle a little smaller at the Aryan race, for example?
Well, I will judge whether or not their actions are resulting in more or less harm in the world. And if they are off in some way...
why do you get to judge them? Why don't they
get to judge you?
Because
I do. We do. As human beings, we do judge. That's what we do, all right? That's part of our survival in the world. We are the moral animal.
That's part of the image of God in you. You judge.
Well,
you know what is right and wrong, and you don't.
Judgment is not judgment is a mental calculation, a value calculation in a functioning brain. It does not transcend the mind. Is a computer a god because it does calculations? Our brains are computers. They compute. They make value computations. That doesn't mean it's a god.
But you've just told me, why should I listen to you any more than I listen to a computer?
You don't have to. You don't have to listen to me.
Well, I'm not.
Well, good. But if you act in a way that threatens me, right, whether you're mentally healthy or not, or whether you're a Hitler or a John Calvin, if you...
Oh, that was dirty. That was dirty.
Yeah.
Comparing Hitler to John Calvin. Amazing.
If you act in ways that threaten me and those that I love and those that I value, then I will do something to prevent that harm. I will act in a way that tries to minimize your harm.
But that's just a fight. That's not an appeal to morality. Two animals can fight over a piece of meat. That's just a fight. All right? One threatens, one encroaches on the other's turf, one wants to take the other's food, someone wants to threaten the cubs or whatever. That's just a fight. An appeal to morality is you ought not to behave that way. And the other dog says, why not?
Well, because I'll put you in jail. That's why not. Or I'll restrict some of your freedoms.
But that's not morality at all. That's simply coercion. And at the end of the day, if there is nothing over us but sky, at the end of the day, that's all you have is raw power.
Well, there's nothing wrong with power when it is exercised in order to minimize harm. Sometimes we have to do that. Power can be good. And what's wrong with raw power? I mean, power is, if you're trying to cause harm, if you're trying to inflict violence, then by definition you are an immoral, unethical, dangerous person.
What do you mean by definition? Is this
by definition, by human beings, we have social conventions and we have words that we agree what they mean. You don't even have a definition for the word morality. You just say God. You don't even attempt to define the word. At least we humanists.
Exodus 20.
At least we humanists have thought it through.
Here's the difficulty. When you say, you're just assuming, this is another one of Dr. Stokes' hidden assumptions. You're assuming that the limits of the shared experience are the human race. Why don't we go broader and take it out into the animal kingdom? Or why don't we go narrower and narrow it to the self-interest of a particular nation, Aryan race, or a tribe, or a particular entity? Were the Aztecs immoral for sacrificing humans the way they did?
Yes, because their actions did not intend to result in minimizing harm. They were causing more harm than was necessary. You and I can declare that they were acting immorally. They may not have thought that. Their mindset might have been totally torped.
So that one Aztec priest at the top of the ziggurat is talking to another one, and the line of slaves is going down over around the street corner, and they're going to kill them all today. And one of the priests says to the other, Barker might not like this.
That was an excellent cap. Here we go, guys. Epic moment of Gordon Stein versus Greg Bonson's debate. Epic moment. Check this out, y'all.
I heard you mention logical binds and logical self-contradictions in your speech. You did say that?
I said it. I used that phrase, yes.
Do you believe there are laws of logic, then?
Absolutely.
Are they universal?
They're agreed upon by human beings. They aren't laws that exist out in nature.
Are they simply conventions, then?
They're conventions, but they're conventions that are self-verifying.
Are they sociological laws or laws of thought?
They are laws of thought which are interpreted by men and promulgated by men.
Are they material in nature?
How can a law be material?
That's the question I'm going to ask you. Thank you.
I would say no.
Dr. Stein, now you have an opportunity to cross-examine Dr. Bonson.
Dr. Bonson, would you call God material or immaterial?
Immaterial.
What is something that's immaterial?
Something not extended in space.
Can you give me an example of anything other than God that's immaterial?
Laws of logic.
Can I ask?
Epic moment right there, classic moment of Gordon Stein and Greg Bonson's debate on the existence of God. Speaking right there, that was the first cross-examination period. I encourage you guys all to get it. If you haven't listened to it yet, you must, as a Christian, listen to that debate between Stein and Bonson on the existence of God. It was one of the most beautiful displays, I think, of faithfulness to the Lord, a clear communication of the biblical worldview, and at the same time, a total, utter devastation of the unbelieving worldview and atheistic thought. It was unbelievable. So, I mean, let's just talk about it for a second. So, if you didn't catch what was happening in that first portion there, that was Greg Bonson, the Christian, who was actually cross-examining Stein, and he was asking about laws of logic. He says to him, as a materialist, he believes that all that exists is matter, a naturalist, an atheist, he says, do you believe in laws of logic? And he says, are they universal? And he says, Stein says, as an atheist, trying to be consistent, he says they're not laws that exist out in nature, they're agreed upon by men. So that means conventional. Conventional meaning not workable, but the conventions of people, we agree on these things. And so he says, listen, here's the amazing collapse of this guy's system. They're conventions that are self-verifying. So they don't exist out in nature, but they're conventions agreed upon by men, okay, laws that we come up with in our own minds. We say these are the laws that are self-verifying. They don't actually exist out in nature, but we just kind of create them conventionally. or agree upon them, but they're self-verifying. But they don't exist outside of our conventional. Do you see the problem there? Am I the only one that sees it right off the bat? They're conventional. We agree upon it. That's where they come from. But they don't exist out in nature, but they're self-verifying. Self-verifying laws that don't exist outside of the convention, right, that we've created. And so Bahnsen says to him, are these laws of logic material in nature? Are they made of matter? And he says, how can a law be material? He recognizes the law. He recognizes the law cannot be material. It must be what? Immaterial. It has to be. And then he goes after Bahnsen and says, is God material or immaterial? And he says, immaterial. He says, what other than God is immaterial? And he says, laws of logic. And just kabloom. That was the beautiful moment display of the collapse of materialism. It's just such an encouraging thing to see God faithfully defended in that way.